The Art of War by Sun Tzu, the John Benford translation. And I prefer to have the John Benford translation as opposed to like Lionel Giles, even though I do have Lionel Giles' translation, and I refer to both of them, but I prefer to read from the John Benford translation because John Benford, the way he translated, as we'll see in the book, is uh, it uses less words than most other translations, in that it allows for more deep thought analysis. It allows you to think more and try to extrapolate more from the book without the book actually telling you what it's trying to say. I believe that the John Benford translation more closely relates to the actual text of the Art of War scrolls than most other translations. Now, let's get into it. And like I said, this is my personal book. This is the one that I refer to the most. This is the one that I read the most. It's the one that I write in all over the place. As you can see, I've got pages put in, I've got pages taken out. Um, but we're going to be talking about chapter one for right now. And we'll go through the whole book as a series. But right now, we'll be talking about chapter one. Now, chapter one is the making of plans. In the Lionel Giles translation, it's the laying plans. And to keep the show on the road, I'll be referring back to my website, narrativesofthefuture.data.blog, just so that we can keep the thoughts straightforward and we can keep this train on track. Now, what is the first chapter? What is the first chapter really talking about? It says making plans. Okay? The first chapter lays the groundwork for the entire book, as well as it gives a template for yourself when making plans for your own work. One thing that can be picked up from this chapter, as well as the other chapters, is the principle of duality. And there are many, the book kind of reiterates itself in every chapter, but it says it in so many different ways so that the reader can understand what Sun Tzu is really trying to say. And one of those themes that keep reiterating themselves, like I said, is duality. Now, keep in mind that the art of war comes from China. And in China, as many of you have heard, it has yin and yang. Yin and yang is a symbol of duality. It's the dark and the light. And then inside of each one, there's a light in the dark and there's a dark in the light. So as we're going to be reading, you're going to see a lot of back and forth, uh, opposites, attract and repel. You're going to be seeing a lot of that concept throughout the book. As an example, before we really get into it, as you can see, I've got words all over the place. One of the best examples in chapter one is the beginning, and it starts with one of the most famous quotes from The Art of War, which is that the way of war is a way of deception. When able, feign inability. When deploying troops, appear not to be. When near, appear far. When far, appear near. Lure with bait, strike with chaos. If the enemy is full, be prepared. If strong, avoid him. If he is angry, disconcert him. If he is weak, stir him with pride. If he is relaxed, harry him. If he is harmonious, split them. Now, as you can see here, that it's this and that. What you do and what the enemy does. It's a back and forth. It's a dance. One move, another move. Back and forth. Now let's go back to the first page so we can kind of break these things down. Master Sun said, war is a grave affair of state. It is a place of life and death, a road to survival and extinction, a matter to be pondered carefully. This right here just goes to show it's an emphasis as to whatever it is that you're doing. We say war because that's just how the book is made, but in the modern day, most of us are not in the battlefield. Most of us are not fighting anyone physically, but we're fighting things mentally. Uh, we're fighting at the job. We're fighting in the household. We're fighting when you just step outside. And whatever your war is, just replace it right here. Whatever you do, it's a grave affair of state. It's a place of life and death. It'll make you and break you. Survival and extinction, something that should be pondered over carefully. Whatever you do must be thought through thoroughly. Don't just go out here and make moves willy-nilly, because you're going to get caught up in a situation and it's going to mess you up badly. Now, there are 5 fundamentals for this deliberation. For the making of comparisons and the assessing of conditions. Here we go back to the duality. The making of comparisons. You compare, you're weighing one thing against the other. Assessing conditions. You're assessing the conditions of what you have and what the enemy has. Now, what are the 5 fundamentals? The way, heaven, earth, command, and discipline. Now, we're going to be talking about the 5 fundamentals. We'll be talking about that in a separate discussion, because these 5 right here that'll be a much longer video. But we'll go through it. We'll skim over it. You have the way, which causes men to be of one mind with their rulers, to live or die with them and never to waver. Heaven is yin and yang, cold and hot, the cycle of seasons. Earth is height and distance, distance and proximity, ease and danger, open and confined ground, life and death. Command is wisdom, integrity, compassion, courage, severity. Discipline is organization, chain of command, control of expenditure. Every commander is aware of these 5 fundamentals. He who grasps them wins. He who fails to grasp them loses. And this is something that I try to keep in mind in my everyday life. Whenever I plan to make a big decision, or whenever I plan to make a move that I think will increase my standing in life, I try to go back and think about, how does what I want to do fit into this? And where do these things come in? And how does it affect my life? And one way that Sun Tzu tells us to look at this is here. For this deliberation, for the making of comparisons and the assessing of conditions, discover which ruler has the way. Now, like we said, what is the way? The way is morality. The way is it's the morale that you have. It's keeping your spirits high. Causes men to be of one mind with their rulers, to live or die with them and never to waver. Which ruler has the way? I've written here, as you can see, character. You understand? How is your character? How do you perform in intense situations? Do you break down? Do you freeze? Do you fight? Do you fly? Which general has the ability? What is within you? Do you have the skill to do that which you plan on doing? Do you have the resources that are available to you? As you can see here, resources and the greater potential. Which of you has the greater potential? It may not be a physical person that you're going against. It could just be a certain goal, a challenge that you're trying to accomplish, that you're trying to finish, that you're trying to beat. Will the challenge beat you, or will you beat the challenge? Which side has heaven and earth? Now, heaven and earth, like I said, that's a part of the 5 fundamentals. We'll go into that deeper in another video. But basically, it's advantage and planning. Have you sat down? Have you planned it out? Have you realized what your strengths and weaknesses are? How do you stack up against it? Comparison. On which side is discipline more effective? Discipline, that's pretty straightforward. Can you sit down and can you do the work? Can you concentrate for a long enough period of time to actually learn something or get something done? Which of you has the discipline? Will you get back to it the next day and the next day and the next day? Which army is the stronger? Now, this is a little bit more complex, as I have 3 things here: the Tao, resources, and discipline. A little bit of a sum of all this right here. But the army, it can be a group of people that you're working with. It can be a team. It can be the amount of money that you have. You understand, the capital that you have to freely use for whatever it is that you're doing. Moving on, whose officers and men are better trained? This goes back to training and discipline. This goes back to discipline. Your officers and men are better trained. You are your own officer. You are your own man. You are your own general. This is what the art of war will teach us. This is what Sun Tzu wants us to know. Are you capable? Do you have the knowledge? Do you have the know-how? Are you certified? In which army are rewards and punishments clearest? Another straightforward question. Rewards and punishment. Discipline. When you get taken down, are you able to get back up and learn from your mistakes and mix it and figure out what you could do better, what you shouldn't do, what you should do? He goes on to say that from these can be known victory and defeat. Heed my plan, employ me, and victory is surely yours. I will stay. Do not heed my plan, and even if you did employ me, you would surely be defeated. I will depart. So he's saying to follow the questions. And you can fit these questions to your life, to your situation, to whatever it is that you're fighting. Settle on the best plan. Exploit the dynamic within, develop it without. Follow the advantage and master opportunity. This is the dynamic. And I had to think about this for a minute. It was something that I had to ponder over for a long time to figure out what he meant. The dynamic. The dynamic is the way that something works, is how it works. That's the dynamic. And you follow the advantage and master opportunity. So whenever you find an opportunity, you take advantage of it. So let's say you're at the job and you see that there's a position open, which is a position that you want, which is a position that pays better. It allows you to, it allows better freedom on your part, or more money for you, or something like that. It's something that you want. Are you just gonna sit there and think about it, or are you going to put your name on the roster and let them know that you want that job? That's one of the ways that you can follow the advantage and master the opportunity. This is the dynamic. Like we said before, the way of war is a way of deception. Now, a lot of people, they kind of get turned off by this when they see the word deception. Deception kind of gets a bad word, a bad rap, which, I mean, it's just a word, deception. And what is deception? Deception is to deceive. It's to play one way, but actually you're doing another thing. And when it comes to the art of war, and this goes back to the duality, to do one thing, but to actually be doing another thing. Just like these examples say that he puts here, when able, feign an ability. When deploying troops, appear not to be. When near, appear far. When far, appear near. It's to throw your enemy off. It's to, hit them by surprise. To think outside of the box. Thinking outside of the box and being creative in your endeavors. And differentiating yourself. Making yourself unique. Are all ways that you can use deception to your advantage. Lure with bait, strike with chaos. If the enemy is full, be prepared. If strong, avoid him. If he is angry, disconcert him. If he is weak, stir him to pride. We see these things in the news all the time. They hit you with a real shock and awe news story that gets your attention. They reel you in so they can get those views and get that money. You see it on advertisements all the time. The media uses it every day to their advantage. They hit you with deception that attracts your eye, that gets your attention, and then they sell you with what they want to sell. Things like that. Attack where he is unprepared. Appear where you are unexpected. One way you can look at this is seeing around the corner, having foresight, and being able to decipher and look through and figure out what is going to be happening next. Make sure that you are the first one. Attack where he is unprepared, appear where you're unexpected. When you pop up out of the blue, you hit them with a surprise, and they're attracted to that. They're in awe of that. It's a spectacle. This is victory in warfare. It cannot be divulged in advance. Victory belongs to the side that scores most in the temple calculations before battle. Defeat belongs to the side that scores least in the temple calculations before battle. Most spells victory. Least spells defeat. None, sure defeat. I see it in this way, and the outcome is apparent. This is a very important excerpt, a very important maxim from the first chapter. Even if you didn't really read any of the other pages, and you just focus on this right here, victory belongs to the side that scores most in the temple calculations. It's the calculation. You have to calculate. You have to plan. You have to sit down and think, contemplate. In the temple, don't go out and strike and make your move. Don't go out buying that property, making that sale, buying that car, buying that house, and you haven't done your homework on whatever that thing is. People take advantage of that. They expect you, they hope that you don't do the due diligence so that you do get caught up and they can take advantage of you more. Temple calculations. Take the time out in your day to think, to contemplate, to reflect, to look back on your day every day before you go to sleep, when you're laying in bed, when you're taking your shower. Think about what you did today. Think about what you can do better tomorrow. Victory belongs to the side that scores most in the temple calculations before battle. The winner wins before the fight because he already knows that the fight is in his favor. The loser loses before the fight because they go in with no plan. They go in with no thought. They just do it. Don't be a person who just does things. Do it to your advantage. Only move when the opportunity is advantageous to you. Most spells victory. Least spells defeat. None, sure defeat. I see it in this way, and the outcome is apparent. This is the first chapter of The Art of War. Be sure to check out my website, narrativesofthefuture.data.blog, and you can see some more of the pages, posts, insights that I have on The Art of War. And next we'll be talking about the 5 fundamentals, and then eventually we'll be moving on to chapter 2, Waging War.